and we had a decent sized piece of land in the backyard. I would dodge the dogs. I had defenders basically chasing me around the yard, trying to steal the ball from me and fighting for ground balls with the dogs. They were the best teammates that I probably could have had.
You're listening to the First City Lacrosse Podcast, the second greatest lacrosse podcast on the planet. Buckle up, strap your helmet on, and let's go.
That's right. Let's have some fun. All right, everybody. Welcome back to First City Lacrosse. I am your host once again, Coach Jon, and this is the second greatest lacrosse podcast on the planet. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I have a very special guest with me. And for those of you who have been in the Gulf States region or in the South, you probably recognize this name. You may have played under him as a coach. You might have played against him as a coach. But this is Mr. Zach Pall. Welcome, Zach. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, John. I'm excited to do this with you.
Yeah, this is going to be fun because you are somebody I've wanted to get on this podcast for a long time because you've got a little bit of a resume, somewhat more of a resume than what we typically expect to see down here. Most of the coaches that we have are volunteer. They may have picked it up a little bit late, or they might have played a handful of years of lacrosse. But you have a bit of a sort of a lacrosse pedigree going all the way back to high school. So real quick, Ward Melville High School, Quinnipiac College, and then Hofstra as a D1 player. You're preseason All-American going into Hofstra. And then from there, youth coaching all throughout the Gulf States. So you've been a coach in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. You play for the Israeli National Team. And now you are the head coach at Jesuit High School in New Orleans, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And you corrected me earlier on when I said, how many championships do you have? And I held up two fingers like this, and you're like, oh no, it's this many fingers, right? So 4 championships in 5 years, basically, and you're looking for number 5 this year.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
The boys are doing well. It's awesome to be a Jesuit. I found a great home in New Orleans, and it's an awesome place to live as well.
That's cool. I'm glad you're here, and this is going to be exciting because, like I said, your background isn't what we get a lot about here. And you and I first met probably right around 2015, as you were a youth coach, and you were working with a team that my boys were playing on that had no experience at all. Do you remember that group?
I remember the days well. Out of Perdido Key. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that group went from no experience, and I think the first year they played, they had 0 wins or maybe 1 win, and then you took them, and then the next year. And I get it. Nobody lives and dies by the youth championship, the rec league championship, but for those boys, it really made a big difference because they got to see what the reward of really hard work and being coached the right way looked like, because the next year they were able to get a good number of wins under their belt, eventually winning like the most number of games in the area, one of the toughest teams to beat. And then you took that on to high school. So
yeah,
those
boys put in some work for sure. Back in the day when they started when they were 12, 13-ish when I was with them, and out by the beach in that back on that field with all the swamp around a little bit. And then they grew into a pretty good group of boys.
Yeah. And most of those boys continued playing through high school, and a lot of them into college. So your impact on those players and some of the coaches, even like myself, really, I think it's far greater than what you might think it is. But we're going to get into all that. Before we do, let's learn a little bit about you. So talk about your background a little bit, and then actually, no, before we do that, let's do a couple of rapid fires. You have a favorite podcast, YouTube show, or anything that you kind of pay attention to right now? Doesn't have to be lacrosse related.
Yeah, I'm a big hockey guy as well.
Okay.
Growing up in the Northeast, I'm a big Rangers fan, and Spittin' Chicklets is one of my go-tos. Love listening to the guys on there. They do a good job of keeping it loose, but also giving a bunch of information that's going on in the hockey world culture right now, or present time when it's going on. So Spittin' Chicklets, I'd say, would be like my go-to podcast when I'm just looking for something to listen to.
Cool. I'll have to check that one out for sure. You got a favorite player or a favorite coach or anything? Somebody that you try to model your game style or your coaching style after?
So I'd probably say this is going to probably be a name that not a whole bunch of people know right now, but they probably know the last name. I'd say Brian Splina.
Okay.
He's the one who taught me how to play lacrosse. He's the one who basically like introduced the game to me. Him and his dad Joey or Joe, who's the coach at Stony Brook, growing up on Long Island. They were the two guys that put a stick in my hand for the first time. And obviously the last name is pretty well known with Joey being at Syracuse and all that, and doing very well. But Brian was someone who took me under his wing, taught me a lot about the game, taught me a lot about how to play the right way and with a little bit of an edge. He's the reason I wore number 19. He wore 19 in Hofstra, and I know over my shoulder there's my jersey as well.
Yep. Yep.
Had a huge impact in my lacrosse life, and life in general. And he has, I think, the most championship rings out of any player to play in the MLL or the PLL right now. So he was an animal on the field, an amazing person off the field, totally different people kind of on the field and off the field. And he definitely, I'd say, would be my favorite player.
Wow. Clearly that kind of influence has paid off for you because, I mean, here you are now. So, and then are you reading any books right now? You taking some time to focus on you?
I've been reading a ton of books, actually, some coaching psychology books, just some books in general about like growth, business, personal growth, all of that. I know we were talking a little bit earlier and kind of like favorite book. I'd say Matthew McConaughey's book, Greenlight, is absolutely unreal. I'm not sure if you read it, but
no, but you're the second guy that's told me to read it on this podcast.
Yeah. He went up into the mountains in a cabin. He's journaled since he was like 15 or whatever. His life has been crazy, and he put it into a book, and it's unreal.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to put it in my cart right now because you can only be told something so many times before it starts to stick.
It's an easy read. It's a pretty like not like draining. He keeps it pretty light, and it's like I said, it's really well written.
Yeah, it's in the cart.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah, I will for sure. Okay, let's talk about your early days a little bit. So going all the way back to high school, you said you know, Coach Polino was the first one to put a stick in your hand. Talk to me about what that experience was like and how it kind of shaped you going into high school, playing at Ward Melville, and then into college, you know, playing at a very high level at that D1 level.
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse has been a part of my life since I was 8 years old. I was playing roller hockey, and Joe was reffing the hockey league at that time at a local spot. And he went up to my parents. He asked, has Zach ever tried lacrosse or anything like that? And my mom and dad were, no, I don't think so, like all that. Joey asked if he could kind of teach and have me come out to one of the things that they were doing and putting on. And since then, I think it's been pretty clear that I fell in love with the sport, and it's grabbed me, and like it does a lot of kids. I mean, it's a special game where you get to put a stick in a kid's hands or your hands and run around and whack someone with it and not get in trouble if you do it the right way.
Right.
And it just grabs you. The passion gets built when it's taught the right way. And they did an amazing job of teaching it, keeping it fun, and teaching us the right way. And clearly it's made a difference in my my love for the game and my passion for the game that I have.
Yeah. And then let's dig into it a little bit more. So they put a stick in your hand and, you know, you first started playing at 8 years old, and then you played youth, rec, and then you moved into high school. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so growing up on Long Island, obviously, is a very unique culture of lacrosse. It's been there for a very long time. Probably one of the hot spots and one of like the mainstays of lacrosse in the culture in the country for a very long time. Growing up there, it was just what we did. It's kind of like football in the South. Dads played, grandpas played, all of that. my dad never played. Neither of my parents played, and I was lucky enough to get introduced to it. Grew up in a place where it was a very prevalent game, and was lucky enough to go to high school at Ward Melville, where it's a pretty normal thing to be involved in the lacrosse culture in that community. Numerous state championships at the school, lots of guys going to play in college every year. The structure that they have with the youth system growing into the high school program, it's kind of what's going on down south now, but it's been there for so long that there's been so many guys playing that it's just the normal way of life, and kids get a stick in their hands early. And I was lucky enough to be one of those. And then playing at Ward Melville, I made the team as a sophomore, played as a sophomore, junior, senior, was a senior captain there. We got to the number one team in the country as when I was a senior there. It was an amazing place to learn how to play with a group of guys who knew the game really well. I think my senior year, every single guy on the team played at either Division 1, 2, or 3 college after we graduated, or went to like a pretty prominent club team that was very good academically school, and it was just what we did and what we knew, and was definitely lucky to again grow up in that community, grow up in that culture, seeing the game explode all over the country now. It's just what I knew, and I'm lucky enough now to be able to expose it in a lot of different areas, but I took it for granted, honestly. I don't think I realized how lucky I was growing up in the area that I got to grow up in, where I would go to Stony Brook lacrosse games, which was 5 minutes around the corner from where I lived. I would go to Hofstra games and watch a whole bunch of teams coming to town, like a Hopkins or a UVA or a UMass, or numerous teams would always come, obviously, play on the island, all of that. And it's something that I look back on, I took for granted. But being that I coach a ton of kids now down here in the South from wherever they are, they don't have those same opportunities. And now it's on TV, and it's awesome to see it on TV the way that it's expanded. But they don't have those opportunities quite yet unless they want to go travel to see a game. And it was in my backyard, and it was just something normal that we did almost every week. And I think that's what made me have that much more love for the game, was just being able to go do something with lacrosse, whether it be me playing, going to watch a game. The Saints used to have an indoor NLL team. Probably not too many people know what that is, but the New York Saints were an NLL team that played in the Nassau Coliseum, where the Islanders used to play. We'd go watch professional indoor lacrosse when I was 6 years old, or in sixth grade, and on the Jumbotron, ripping my shirt off and swinging it around and all of that. Things like that just kids down here don't get to fully experience because the opportunities aren't there. And it's clearly memories that I have in my head still that made a difference. And it's all little pieces of what's made me, or it's made me who I am today. And it's also continued to help build that love for the game, and not just on the field, but off the field, and now coaching as well.
Yeah. And so, as you developed going through your junior and senior year, talk a little bit about what your daily routine was like, because one of the reasons that I started doing this podcast was to help players and high school students understand what it takes in order to play at that next level, because there's two sort of avenues they take. One is they think they're a little bit better than they are. They don't understand the competition out there because they've never traveled outside the area. And so they think that like this is it. And there are some really talented players here, but without that breadth of experience, they'll never know how good they actually are. Case in point, we had a player out here who was pretty good, and some of the coaches kind of ho-hummed him. It's like, he's okay. Well, he went up to a clinic in Maryland. That's sort of a hotbed of lacrosse. He went up there and he made that all-star team. He's a very talented player, but he had been told by other coaches that he was like, oh, you're pretty average. and all the same things that most teenage players are. It's like, oh, you need to be, try to have a little humility, like try to listen a little bit better, shut your mouth, open your ears, that kind of thing. Every player is going to have that at some point in time. But when he went up there and realized how talented he actually was, he came back and realized, like, I could be really good at this. And he's a multi-sport athlete, which is, as you know, what a lot of lacrosse players are. He's going to be great. Conversely, so some think they're better than they are. Some don't think they're good enough to play. That's really the group that I'm trying to reach, because there are so many opportunities out there. Like you said, maybe D1 is off the table, but there are plenty of really good D2, D3 programs out there. There's some good MCLA programs out there, just on the club and intramural scene. I mean, there's no, if you want to play in college, there's a spot for you somewhere for sure. So talk a little bit about how your high school, those junior and senior years of high school, what that routine was like, and what your sort of daily practice routine schedule look like in order to help you prepare for college.
Yeah, so I will say I probably wasn't like the most normal kid when it came to like drive and want to get to where I want to go, I'll say. Like you're saying, there's a lot of like unknown expectations or unknown um, like commitment of how much it takes to get to where you want to reach, whatever level that is. And I talk about this with a lot of parents of kids that I coach right now. I mean, I coach kids from 6 years old all the way through 18 with our club program, Louisiana Lacrosse Academy, and then being the head coach at Jesuit as well. My daily routine junior, senior year was I'd go to practice. We'd practice 6 days a week. When we were in high school, we had our fall ball, which was probably like 2 or 3 days a week for a few months. We'd stop. And then lacrosse up north doesn't start in Long Island, New York until probably like end of February-ish. And through that break, obviously the weather changes. It's not as conducive as it is down south and all that, but I was outside every single day, either playing wall ball, shooting, going to the gym, making sure that I was just doing something in order to get better. I guess I realized after the fact, but it was just something that I loved to do. It wasn't like I was going outside to practice. It wasn't like mom and dad were telling me to go outside and get your wall ball reps in. Honestly, it was my escape from reality, I guess I'll call it, or not that I need to escape, but it was my thing that I love to do. Whatever your passion is, and lacrosse clearly is one of mine. It's in my life every single day to this day. But it was just a matter of going out there, having your stick in your hands, not being flashy or crazy in the backyard. Yes, that's the time to have the fun times and all of that, mess around, do the stupid things that you probably won't do all the time in front of coach until you've perfected it. But it was also just, I love doing it. I mean, I was trying to put the ball on the top right consistently, trying to put the ball on the bottom right consistently. And that consistent factor of being able to do it and having that confidence of knowing you can do it when you're doing it in the backyard because you're showing yourself you can, leads to success when you're playing with your teammates and on your teams, to not really questioning if you're going to be able to do it when it's needed, but knowing that you can do it when it's needed. So there'd be days that I'd play in a game and I would go to the gym after. I worked out with a personal trainer probably from the age of like 15. And that was one thing also that I realized is a tremendous aspect of making sure that you could be a complete lacrosse player is the weight room. A lot of times nowadays, I get it. Everything is so structured for kids and teams and all of that, where they think, and being that we're in the South, kind of that football culture where the teams work out in the weight room together. They have this structure and kind of, I guess, players, parents, whatever it be, almost not expect the teams to work out in the weight room together and all of that, but it's a lot of time also in the weight room, things going on, trying to get everyone on the same page. And it's not easy to get everyone in the weight room together, but there's plenty of time that they could get in the weight room on their own. And I think that that's something that boys and kids can, and girls as well, can understand that you don't always have to do it with your team. Yes, it's a lot easier to do when there's other people around pushing you and all of those things. But if you can find that kind of drive on your own, it's going to make even more of a difference in the long run. That instant gratification of like social media, hitting the likes, thinking that it's just going to happen when you do it once, and maybe you got lucky instead of doing it consistently and showing yourself you can do it consistently, is definitely rooted in the culture nowadays. And then going the social media side of things too, where you go to tournaments or you go watching games and all that, and there's the cameras on the side now and the kids are trying to get the clip, it's called, is crazy to me because none of that existed when I played. So it's definitely shifting, changing, progressing, but that's really like what my daily routine was. I had my stick in my hands every single day, whether it was snowing out or 100 degrees outside, it didn't matter. And then I also grew up with a bunch of labs in our back, and we had a decent sized piece of land in the backyard. I would dodge the dogs. I had defenders basically chasing me around the yard, trying to steal the ball from me and fighting for ground balls with the dogs. They were the best teammates that I probably could have had when I was back then.
That's funny.
Yeah.
They're athletic. Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a really good point about preparation because, like for you, it was getting in the gym on your own, right? You didn't have that structure. It was doing the reps on your own because, practice is not necessarily the time to get better. Practice is the time to work together so you can focus on the things you're doing together. But the coach expects you to have those fundamentals down by the time you get to practice. Practice isn't about learning the game. Practice is about learning how to operate as a team. So I think that's really good. You can't just listen to a pep talk and be like, I'm the best lacrosse player on the planet. The reason Kobe Bryant or Steph Curry is so good at shooting 3-pointers is not because they listen to a David Goggins pep talk. It's because they get in there and yes, they shoot 7 or 8 or 900 free throws every single day. They shoot 1,000 shots every 3 days or something like that. I mean, it's just insane the amount of reps they put in. So to be at that level, it's a combination. You have to have the right mindset. And like you said, whether it was 100 degrees or it was freezing, you're out there getting the reps in. And weather is always a factor, no matter where we are, what we do. And this is one thing I would tell players too, is like, you need to learn to operate in all conditions. You don't get the luxury of playing when it's a calm day and 70 degrees.
Yeah, we don't play in an indoor arena.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So you need to learn to play in the rain. You need to learn to play in the heat. You need to learn to play in the wind. Like, you have to learn to operate in all these conditions. How does your gear treat you in those conditions? So I'm really glad you brought that up. It's a good combination of getting the reps in, which is probably more important, and then the mindset part of it, which is pushing yourself past your limits. Don't just quit when you get tired, right? You push yourself to achieve those goals.
Also, really quick, not just getting the reps in, but getting the right reps in. Like, you can do something 1,000 times and it not be the right way, and you think it's the right way, or you think and I don't want to spend too much more time on it, but like technology is something that has come so long. I use it in my coaching every single day, where like I'll bring an iPad out to the field if I'm giving a lesson or we're working on something and I'm working with it, and I'll show them what they look like instantly, live feedback. And that was something that I didn't have when I was growing up. I wish like I could have set an iPad up on a tripod, videotape me shooting and all of that, and little things like that. I mean, knowing what you look like while you're playing, and you think you look one way and you might look totally opposite, but when you show yourself what you look like, or someone shows you what you're like, that's what I look like. Oh, okay. I know what I need to change in that aspect just by seeing. So I think there's lots of things that are lots of tools that kids could use nowadays to really help them progress at an even faster rate. I mean, I bought a lacrosse ball the other day. I think it's called an R1. I'm not trying to give any plugs or anything like that, but it tracks your wall ball count automatically. And it
Yeah.
also tells you like how fast you're shooting and stuff like that, and how fast you're getting your wall ball reps in. I mean, I had to count in my head, and I had to set a timer outside with like a kitchen clock, the timer thing that would buzz. There's things like that that are just astronomically ahead of where it was when I was playing the game, that makes things more fun. It gives you data, it gives you feedback, it gives you something to almost like compete against other people with. There's a community in this app also, but it also is something that shows you, look, I can do this when you do it, right? Or you are working on something like, hey, I got 10 wall balls in a minute. Okay, let's try and beat 10. Let's get 50 seconds instead of trying to like guess.
Yeah.
So that's something I think is huge for a lot of young players to understand.
Yeah. And I think it's understated how much benefit even 5 minutes of wall ball will do for you. You can find 5 minutes in the day, hit the wall. You might be able to get 100 reps in right there.
You easily should be able to get 100 reps in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, let's shift gears now into college just a little bit. We'll talk about this for a few minutes, but I really want to focus the last half of it on like the coaching aspect of it and developing players. So when did you realize in high school that you were going to play at college?
I think
is that a hard question?
No, it's a hard question because I don't think I never thought about not playing in college.
Okay.
Where I grew up and the path that I was on, like being at Ward Melville, playing with the guys that I played with, guys that I looked up to who were in our high school that were older than me were all a lot of the time playing at pretty good schools. Like we had guys go to Hopkins, we had guys go to Brown, we had guys go to Notre Dame, we had guys go to Duke, North Carolina. Like the culture that I just grew up in and was engulfed in, it was the norm kind of, or maybe not the norm, but like the not expectation, but the path that a lot of us took. All of the guys that I would hang out with in high school, or the guys that we would play with, we would all talk about like playing at the next level. The club lacrosse scene wasn't huge yet. I actually kind of saw that whole thing kind of, I think, start and blow up. I played with Mike Chanchuk growing up my whole life. And his dad is one of the founders of Express Lacrosse up there. Brian Spallino, who I mentioned earlier, him and his brothers are the people who started 91 lacrosse. And it was just something that we knew we wanted to do. And it was just leading us toward that path. And I mean, I made the Empire State team that I think there's like 1,200 or something like that kids try out for on Long Island. And 20 guys make it. And all 20 of those guys, 26 guys make the team. There's 6 alternates or something like that. And all 20 of those guys, or 26 of those guys, are going to play Division I lacrosse. Like it was just something that really wasn't a thought. It was more like, where are you going to go play lacrosse? And that Empire State team, when I was lucky to make it, I was one of the 20 to be on the actual travel roster, all that. We won a gold medal. I mean, I played with names that people probably don't fully know anymore and all that, but like guys like Matt Gibson, who's the String Kings guy, who has those crazy hands, that does those crazy wall ball routines. He was on my team. He played at Yale. Like Tommy Palasek went to Hopkins and then went to Syracuse. There was a bunch of guys on the team that it was our norm.
Yeah. And so how did you pick Quinnipiac, or did they pick you? How did that work out?
So my recruitment process was a little unique. We were looking at a lot of schools. Duke was kind of on the table at the time, and then the rape scandal happened. And we weren't sure what was kind of going to go on with that. Ended up figuring out that Quinnipiac was going to be where I ended up. And it was a unique situation. It was a very fast process because I didn't know where like the whole other situation was going to play out towards. So obviously that didn't come to fruition. I didn't go to Duke, but ended up going to Quinnipiac. I went up there on a visit. And on the way home, they called and they offered with a scholarship. And I was like, great, everything's going to work out. It's about 2.5 hours from where I grew up. good further enough away from mom and dad to where they can't just show up, but they could come watch the games. They could be there. They could still enjoy like everything that lacrosse has given us. And it was a great place. It was a great school. Very grateful for my time at Quinnipiac. And then they gave me the opportunity, obviously, to start my college career, all that there. And then after my sophomore year, some personal stuff was going on, and I wanted a little bit more of a higher level lacrosse, and took the opportunity to transfer to Hofstra. And Hofstra was, again, another great opportunity, another great place to play. My junior year, we got to number 2 in the country while we were there. In the beginning of the year, we were on a hot streak. I think we started like 7-0 or something like that. Lost to Hopkins in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But it was just another like awesome experience of playing high level lacrosse at a institution that supported it and wanted to see the team succeed. I mean, they didn't have a football program anymore. They dropped that the year before I got there, and the lacrosse team got the football locker room. It was like how it's kind of going in the arms race, if you want to call it that, with college sports, where Hofstra, I think, probably has some of the best facilities in the country. And I think that's kind of shown by how they host a lot of the quarterfinal championship games in the NCAA tournament. So just very lucky to play lacrosse where I've gotten to play lacrosse.
That is, I think, something a lot of players hope for, but don't maybe realize they can get there. Now, so when you went as a face-off guy or a midfielder, or how did that work out?
So when I was
a little bit of everything.
When I was in high school, I played attack, I faced off, I played midfield. I never really came off the field. And then college, I was a midfielder and I faced off obviously as well. And I was playing midfield. I was doing all those things. I was facing off here and there. We had a face-off guy at Quinnipiac. And then it really started to click, I guess. This face-off act. So I faced off, and then I would stay on the field a little bit. Or not a little bit, a good amount to play some midfield too. But back then, the face-off was literally just like a down and then a whistle. So you were able to roll into the ball is what you weren't supposed to, but the refs had a very tough time, still like we see today with the face-off. They're still trying to make nuances, changes, and all that. And I don't know what it was, but I was decently well at timing the whistle and slowly rolling into it. And it ended up becoming one of my more main roles while I was at Quinnipiac. I was their face-off guy, the starting face-off guy my sophomore year. And then when I got to Hofstra, they had a very good face-off guy as well, John Antonitis. Didn't need that kind of position out of me, or he was doing better than I was and all that. And that's the beauty of competition in college sports. Like, guys are going to push each other. All the guys on the team were the best guys at their high school a lot of the time. And if you're not going to take the opportunity to push yourself at whatever position you want to push yourself, there's going to be someone who passes you or someone who's a little bit better than you. So ended up playing D-Midi at Hofstra for the 2 years that I was there, and was a defensive midi and had a blast with the guys and had some fun with the team while we were there. And it just being able to be a complete lacrosse player, I think, is something that's helped me for the past however long I've been playing this game, because I know we haven't got there yet, but with the Israeli National Team, they thought they were bringing me in as a face-off guy, and then go from, I think that's really all they thought that I was going to be. But I ended up not facing off for them ever. Every once in a while, taking like a random one if our other guy's tired or something like that. But I was a starting attackman for the Israeli national team my whole career on the field side. And then on the box side, I played forward from the time I was on the start of the team. Being able to be, like I said, that complete lacrosse player has helped me tremendously in just understanding all aspects of the game.
Yeah, well, I hope you're paying attention, kids, because you were not the first person to say that, and you probably won't be the last. Be a whole lacrosse player. Learn every position. Learn all
don't just say you're a defenseman or attack. Wherever you can help the team, you never know how much you might be able to do.
Yeah, when I was coaching defense, I would tell the guys, look, you play defense, but you're a lacrosse player. So if the ball is in your stick and it's time, then you are going. And you're going to go and you're going to go run the offense with the rest of the guys because it's on you. And if they don't guard you, you're going to shoot and you're going to score. Like, you are a lacrosse player. Conversely, if you're an attackman and the midfielder drops out, you're going to play defense during the transition. That's just how it's going to work because you play attack, but you're a lacrosse player. So
On that flip side of that too, like defenseman who understands the offensive side of the ball helps them know where to move and where to be a little bit better than the defenseman who just understands his defensive structure and what the defense is trying to do. So that anticipation factor of being able to, or understanding of the other side of the ball, is a huge aspect to being a complete player.
And on the flip side of that, an offensive player who understands how a defense works, they understand where a slide's going to come from. They understand who's going to roll. They understand who the slow defenseman is. They learn how to use their offense in the best way that they can to take advantage of those weaknesses on the other sides. Yep, be a whole lacrosse player. Don't just be your position. All right, so you mentioned the Israeli national team. Let's jump into that. How did you get involved? And what has that journey been like? Because playing on the world stage is just incredible.
It's been one of the best opportunities I've ever gotten in my life, I'd say. And the way the opportunity kind of arose was, I'm going to say it, my mom emailed the GM. And it was a very early stage of the Israeli national team, like growth process and all that. And she was, hey, my son, like basically just graduated from Hofstra, blah, blah, blah. And I got this random phone call from the GM of the team one day. And he was like, hey, we got this email. Like, is this Zach? Yep, this is Zach. He told me who he was, started chatting. And then 2014, I started the process of trying out for the box team. And I never really played real competitive box. But growing up on Long Island, when the snow comes and all that, you play indoors, regular field style lacrosse, basically, not with the little goals and all that. Probably now is shifting a little bit. But had a little bit of an understanding of the game, but not a whole lot. And did well during the tryout process, had two amazing coaches that taught all of us the game, Brad MacArthur and Jason Crosby. Brad MacArthur is now the head coach at FIT, Florida Institute of Technology, down in Florida, and Coach Crosby is an NLL coach for, used to be the Riptide. I think they're the Brown Bears now in Ottawa. And they taught us the game the right way. Again, from the beginning, we were all a bunch of kind of Northeastern Jewish lacrosse guys who played in college and had the opportunity to be a part of this team. And I started from there, 2015, making the box team. And then for the past however many years that I played, my last event, I'm deciding to stop playing, was this past World Games in September in 2025. Or 2024, I'm sorry, up in Utica, New York. So I've played in probably 3 or 4 World Box Championships. I've played in three, I think, Outdoor World Championships. I was a part of the Birmingham World Games, where it took the experiment for the Olympics to get it going there. It's taken me around the world. It's been absolutely amazing. Fire away. I don't know where you want to take this, the Israeli stuff, but I could talk about the Israeli stuff all day long. It's been an amazing experience getting to be in a locker room with just Jewish guys, because normally you're 1 or 2 Jewish guys in the locker room. I've traveled the world. I've been to Finland because of them. I've been to Prague. I've been to countless places. Got to play in 2018 in Israel, which was absolutely amazing. Fire any questions that you got for me, because I could talk about this forever.
Well, no, this is great because I think, I don't know a lot about it. Like you said, the World Games and, moving lacrosse into the Olympics is still fairly new, and it's going to take a lot of people by surprise when they start. They're already showing it on Saturdays, on ESPN occasionally, and during the Olympics, you're gonna see it, and you're gonna see it a lot because everybody's gonna have a team. I'm seeing teams from obviously Israel, the United States, Canada. Those are probably going to be your favorites rolling into it. And then, but you're going to have teams from Norway. You're going to have teams from the UK, from Ireland. You have teams from countries in Africa. You got teams from countries in South America. I mean, it's going to be
New Zealand,
Australia. Yeah, everybody's going to be there, and it's like you don't really see that with any other team sports like that. You'll see that, with individual team sports. You might see that with golf, or you might see that with track, gymnastics,
especially
that
the
kind of
summer
thing.
games. The winter games have a little bit more of that, but the summer games are very rare to have like a huge.
Yeah. So let's. I just don't know enough to ask even relevant questions. I feel like an idiot right now, but just so you got into that, and how did you guys practice? How did you prepare? How did you approach sort of each game?
Yeah, so practice, and like again, it comes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier in this conversation, where it almost made me go back to like that kid atmosphere and feeling. High school, obviously, you have your team, you have your guys, you're with them all the time, you're in your community. College, everyone's living at the same area, everyone's training together, everyone's doing those things together in that team atmosphere, right? And you're training 5-6 days a week during the season, seeing each other every single day, film study, all that. Getting to the Israeli stuff was, like I said, a little bit of a reset, going back to like the kid days where training is on your own. The responsibility of staying in shape, weight room, running, stick work, all of those things were up to you as an individual, because we're all spread out around the world. We've got guys that live in Israel full time. We've got guys that live in the States full time. We've got guys that go back and forth. All of us have lived there at some point for a portion of time. You get your passport through this process called Aliyah. And I've got my passport. I'm a dual citizen. And with that, like knowing other guys are around the world training, right? And you have your piece of the puzzle or your piece of the team that you need to make sure is as best as possible, because there's other guys doing it too that hopefully are doing it to their best ability while they're training. And if you're the guy who's the cog in the wheel a little bit, you don't want to be that guy. And when there's 26 of you guys on a team and you guys all know what you're kind of playing for and putting the jersey on, it's a lucky privilege to be able to do. It's not just given to you. It's not just, hey, here's a jersey, go out there and play. It's earned. And there's a lot of guys who would have loved to be in the positions that we were all in. And if you don't take advantage of those opportunities when they are given to you, they're not going to continue to come. And that's something that I've done a good job of, is knowing that, like, hey, you got to be ready. You got to know what you need to do. And the reason I say that is because I've played on the team for like the past 10 years now, 35 years old. I've been playing since I was 24 years old with them. Like, I've had teammates who have kind of grown, matured, not been a part of the team as much as I have because of life changes, jobs, all of that. And I'm lucky to be able to have the opportunity to go play when I need to and all of that. But it's also a matter of being able to want to do it instead of having to do it. I mean, it's not every day that you have the opportunity to go play on an international stage and represent a country that is really special to me, honestly, and is really unique. Never did I think in my wildest dreams when I was playing even college lacrosse that I would be playing on the Israeli national team. But it made me realize, one, how lucky I am to do what I get to do. It's given me some of the best friends that I've had in my life. And it's also taken me around the world to play the game that I love. Like, did I ever think I was going to go to Turku, Finland and win an indoor European championship? No, never in my life did I think that was going to happen. But this game is what gave me the opportunity, because I had the ability, I had the chances, I had the opportunities, and it's been an amazing ride, and kind of never did I think it'd take me where it's taken me.
Now, how did the GM find and pick the players, your teammates? Because probably not every player's mom emailed the GM.
No,
Right.
I don't think so.
You might be the only lucky one that did that. So where did these other players come from? Are they all just college lacrosse players that ended up in the US pretty much?
No, a lot of them were like Jewish American guys who played in college. And the lacrosse world is such a small community. Like guys know guys know guys, another guy. It's like 1-2 degree separation, we'll say. So as the organization grew, it was more or less like, hey, we should try and get this guy involved. We should try and get that guy involved, because being a Jewish lacrosse player, you guys could kind of tell who, if you don't know someone is or isn't. Last name sometimes gives it away.
Sure.
But a lot of the time it was just like, hey, what do you think? Do you think we could get this guy involved? Like, do you think we could get that guy involved? Nate Solomon comes to mind when it comes to a name like that. Like, Nate played at Syracuse, unbelievable lacrosse player, great guy, like awesome dude. And it was just like our GM called. We knew Nate was Jewish. Like, GM called, he tried to get him involved, and eventually he said yes, and we got him involved. So it's kind of like organically grown through that, I'd say, is the culture and the connections of the community.
Yeah. So you've been doing that for 10 years. Are you going to continue to do that? You're going to keep playing? You're done.
I am done.
You hung up the cleats.
Unless like something crazy happens where I get a phone call to possibly play in the Olympics, which I don't think is going to happen, but you never know.
That's right.
My last event, I broke 2 ribs, our second to last game, and then played our last game with 2 broken ribs because I was 99% sure it was my last one. So I am very, very content playing men's league sometimes, which I rarely do because I, knock on wood, haven't gotten any like crazy serious injuries yet, and
don't jinx it.
That happen. And then 2, I've grown my club organization or the academy, I call it Louisiana Lacrosse Academy. We started with about 50 kids about 3-ish years ago, and we had about 135 kids this past summer from ages 6 all the way to 18. So next phases of life have shown me that as you grow, you have to make certain decisions and smart decisions. And I think focusing on the academy is now my main priority versus it used to be playing and getting to go to the events and making sure, not my schedule surrounded kind of around the Israeli events, but now my schedule and my daily life is surrounded by the academy stuff, Louisiana Lacrosse Academy stuff. And it's my priority now is what I'll say. So I've got to play long enough. I've got to be on the field long enough. I'm on the field almost every single day as a coach now. It's now like time to have that shift and have the coaching aspect and next phase of life, I think, come into play versus worrying about continuing to be on the field and playing at that kind of high level.
Well, so as you've transitioned from player to coach, when did you sort of become a full-time coach? Because you were a part-time coach basically since you graduated college, right? You're coaching individual guys, coaching teams here and there, coaching a couple of days a week. But when did you realize, like, I'm going to be a full-time lacrosse coach?
Yeah, so I don't think ever thought I was going to be a full-time lacrosse coach. But when I moved to New Orleans, I had 2 office jobs, and look, coaching takes a ton of time, and trying to find that happy medium of a office job and a coaching career was not easy. And it kind of came into play with how structure and scheduling and all of that. And I did it a little bit full-time-ish, not full-time when I was living in Mobile, but that was kind of like my main source of income and what I focused on. But when I moved to New Orleans, I saw an opportunity after obviously dealing with the situations that I dealt with in the office jobs where it's like, I'm in a bigger city now. I'm in a high school that supports what we're doing. I have a bunch of players and parents who are supporting what we're doing. I'm going to take a shot at this. And if I take a shot at it now, if it doesn't work, okay, hopefully I can go figure out those other next phases. But it's been working out pretty well. It's been growing in New Orleans at a pretty great rate, obviously. I'm in charge of running a rec program in Jefferson Parish. They brought Louisiana Lacrosse Academy in to be the one who builds their rec program. Obviously, I'm the head coach at Jesuit High School in New Orleans, where we've been doing well and having success. And then the Louisiana Lacrosse Academy is like that foundation that everything is kind of growing off of, where we do camps, we do lessons, we do clinics, we have the club teams, and we have the ability to give the right knowledge, the structure, and teach the kids the game in a hopefully fun atmosphere while they're doing things the right way versus a coach who just loves to scream for whatever reason, because we've all dealt with those too. And those coaches aren't fun to deal with, especially when you're learning the game. And being in the South, like you said earlier, like there's not a whole lot of dads or coaches who have played this game at a high level. And if I can be that guy who builds a passion and teaches the game to that next generation down here, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to get to do what I get to do.
Well, you can't run an organization with 130 players on your own. So what does your staff look like for that? Like, where do you find the coaches? Because one of the things we really struggle with, at least here in the Panhandle, is finding qualified coaches to just show up and be a part of. I mean, it's no trouble finding baseball coaches. It's no trouble finding football coaches. We have a lot of problems finding men's and women's lacrosse coaches. How did you pull those people in?
It's a tough answer, I'll say. But it's not just my coaches. I've got an awesome support team, I'll say. I'll start with my coaches, but the coaches are something that is, like you're saying, it's so hard to find. New Orleans is a little bit more transient than like the Gulf, the Panhandle where you guys are and all that. We've got a few more people who have played in college, all of that. But it's not easy, obviously, finding the coaches, and it's not easy keeping the coaches who are the good ones, because everyone's got another job, and then you go work your quote unquote like 9 to 5, whatever it is, and then you come out to the field and you're dealing with kids who sometimes listen, sometimes don't listen, and they've been in school all day. The coach has been, and sometimes it turns draining, and sometimes it's not as easy to have that love or that passion for the game while you're out there after a long day. But I've been lucky enough to have guys on the staff who have moved to New Orleans or have lived here and wanted to be a part of it. And we have a coach, Bass Barfield, who played at Jacksonville University. He was a goalie there. One of my best friends, and just through the lacrosse community, met him. Another guy, Andrew Liu, who played up in New Hampshire. He's down here now. He's been helping out a while. Another coach from who just graduated from Tampa moved into town. And I will say being at Jesuit is a helpful situation, because people go on, they Google lacrosse in Louisiana, and Louisiana Lacrosse Academy comes up and Jesuit comes up a good amount of times. And then I get an email from someone, hey, I'm just moving to the city. I played lacrosse. This is like my background. Would I be able to help? And then I usually hop on a call with them, chat with them, see what their kind of credentials are, what they're looking to do, and if they want to be involved, and then hopefully they do, and they don't get burnt out, because burnout is a real thing as a coach as well. It's a lot of time, effort, energy. And then the other thing that I try and do, I know it's tough for a lot of organizations to do, and it takes a lot of volunteers. And we have volunteers in like the rec side of things and at Jesuit, but with the academy, I try and pay my coaches for every practice. I don't want them to think that they just have to give their time, because their time is worth money and so is their knowledge. And it allows the parents to also understand, like, hey, these guys are out here and they're not just out here to be out here. They are the right guys to be out here. I mean, for us to, as an organization, we had practiced last night to have 4 NCAA former players on the field in Louisiana having practice doesn't happen too often in many other organizations. And I'm lucky to do that. And I think it's a matter of what we've built and what we are doing as a group of guys and coaches, but it's also a matter of them wanting to be out there and their love of giving back to the game as well. And then on the other side of things, like I said, I have a team, right? All of that. Parents are hugely important in helping run things off the field, making sure that the kids have what they need. Even if you can't be a coach, you can help in another aspect. And then I have, I call Miss Sherry my director of operations and communications, but Miss Sherry is like the machine behind behind not everything, but a lot of things that keeps me organized, that keeps me not having things fall through the crack. And those people are important as well. So, because if you're trying to do it on your own, it's not going to work. It's going to be very difficult. It can't be a one-man show trying to coach 135 kids or even 35 kids. It takes support and it takes help from a lot of people to make it all successful and buy-in. And we've built a pretty amazing culture and community here so far, and getting the other high school coaches involved as well. I mean, Brother Martin's a school in New Orleans, and Kyle Manning is their head coach. He's one of the coaches who coaches with the Louisiana Lacrosse Academy. Tim Gunn is a former player at Virginia Wesleyan. He coaches at Newman, which is another high school in the area, and he coaches in the organization, trying to show the community that we're all working towards the same kind of goal, but we don't have to be against each other. Yeah, we can be against each other during the high school season. We can be against each other when we play in games, all that stuff in that atmosphere. But if we work together, a rising tide raises all boats. And that's really what I'm trying to do in this region right now, is have a rising tide raise all the boats.
Yeah. I think you brought up a really good point about having a sort of an administrative staff behind it. That is so important. I think that's what a lot of coaches, and even especially at the high school level, I think a lot of the school administrators miss that aspect of it, because you have the coach is there to run practice, and he's, if he's a high school coach and he's involved, he's probably checking their grades periodically, but he cannot run the entire fundraising system on his own. He cannot run all the whether it's concessions, whether it's t-shirt sales, whether it's marketing, advertising, volunteer work. He has to be able to delegate that to someone. And if the school district or the administrators don't support that, if they're just like, hey, thanks for being our coach, and then they turn their back and walk away, it's really difficult to run a program that way. So what has your experience been like at Jesuit? Obviously, 4 championships, you've got the right coaches in the right spots. You've got the administrative team, I'm assuming. You've got some support from the district. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, Jesuit's great with the support they give us. They make sure that we get to take trips that we need to take. We go to Dallas every year to start our season. We take a coach bus with about 35 boys. It's the varsity team that goes, and that's really where we get on the bus, and there are a bunch of individuals, and we get off the bus when we come home, and the parents are like, what did you do with these kids? Because they are a totally different group when you left than when you came back. But it's just about being with the boys and having the culture understood and all that. And that starts with the older boys and having it trickle down. But when I started the process to possibly become the head coach at Jesuit, I sat down with the AD. We had a conversation. He was like, Zach, look, I know we don't have a lacrosse coach. I don't know much about lacrosse. The program seems to be doing well. I don't have a field for you guys to practice at. Like, there's a lot of figured out by the coach and what was going on and everything there. And being that I do this full time, and I'm lucky to be able to do that, I have my own facilities through Louisiana Lacrosse Academy that has kind of alleviated a lot of things. Field space is always something that was an issue for, and will always be an issue for a lot of programs, but we don't have that issue, luckily. And Jesuit supports us in a very strong way with things that we need, but it's a matter of figuring out those little things that if they're going to get in your way and you don't figure them out, they're not going to allow you to succeed. But if you can figure them out, it'll make things a lot smoother and easier. We used to practice 2 or 3 different locations my first 2 or 3 years at Jesuit, and practice didn't know where it was going to be until like the week before, or what time practice was going to be, or when are we doing this, or where's that. And now we luckily have fields, and we practice. We know our practice schedule. We're not guessing where we're going to practice. We know the times that we're going to practice, and everything kind of operates smooth. So the school's been very grateful about how we do things on the lacrosse side of things, and vice versa. I'm very grateful for how kind of the school allows me to operate and do and trust me to do the things that I know how to do, and continue to hopefully be successful with the staff that we have, the kids that we have, and the culture that we're building.
What kind of things are you looking forward to most this season? Obviously another championship would be great, but outside of that, what kind of things are you looking forward to? Do you have any new coaches you're bringing on? You have any new plans for your offense or defense, without giving away too many secrets?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to with this group of boys at Jesuit this year is I tell the boys, like, right, we set the foundation the first few years of like the house, and now we've been there for the past 3 years. We put pillars up. I think now it's time to build the roof and like try and really start completing the full aspect of the Jesuit lacrosse culture, which is on the field and off the field. And we've had teams in the past that really, really good teams on the field, really close on the field and all of that. But being that it's a high school, and being that they don't see each other after school every day, all that, whatever that be, I want to see the boys become like one complete unit and group. I think having maybe if it's even 1 or 2 players, just a little bit on the outskirts in the past few years, has slowed us down at some points, or maybe caused some hiccups or stuff like that. And I think that this group of seniors that I have right now, who have been with me now some of them for 4 years, some of them have been in the program for a long time, understand the expectations and understand how we do things. And yes, state championships are great, and state championships are what we work towards the end of the year. And that's why I love getting to coach a high school team as well as a club team, because of the club stuff, right? You go a weekend, you're there, and you're done. The high school season's that progression and that lead up to hopefully getting to where you want to at the end of the year. And all of these boys have experienced winning a state championship that are on the team right now. Some of them have experienced losing one, some of them haven't. But I think that they know what it takes to win the state championship, and how like much energy, effort goes into it on the field. And they get that off the field aspect because they've seen how it affected teams prior, that they know what I'm looking to have this group do and be, and have a lot more kind of leadership and roles taken on by players versus coaches having to be those leaders or those facilitators all the time.
Yeah, I've always said that the mark of a true leader is when he or she can step back and the operation runs itself. When guys and girls are willing to take charge and do the things that they know they're supposed to do without being told to do them, that's when you know your leadership has worked. And it sounds like that's kind of where you're at with your team.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll say fingers crossed, right?
Yes.
Well, any regrets, any things you wish you did more of, any things you wish you did less of, any things you're specifically trying to avoid?
I wish I yelled less. I yelled less as a coach. Not like yell, but I wish I could just sometimes not sit back, but watch the boys play, succeed, and not stress about the little things or let the little things get to me as a coach on the sidelines. But I know the type of player I was, and I know the type of coach I am, where I want to see them be the best that they can be. Where if sometimes you see something, it's hard to not say something to
Yeah.
someone and let them get through it sometimes. Where I really want to try and, like you just said, take a step back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and see that leadership and that kind of vocal aspect come from the boys and the people around me versus me having to not be it all the time, because it's not all, but like be that guy who just is letting everything get to him a little bit. You got to be able to let some things roll off, and you got to be not live in the moment. I'll say I want to be able to live a lot more in that moment during the game versus let those little things that might have happened that affect me a little bit more throughout the game roll off my back and just be like, all right, well, next thing, and we're on to the next play.
Well, I think that's one of the hardest things as a coach, and not to steal any thunder at all, but you know, we see those players every day, like you said, 5, 6 times a week. We're with them for several hours a day, and we get to see them at their, you know, at their lowest point, and oftentimes we get to see them at one of their highest points, or we see them start to scratch the surface. And we're so passionate about taking care of our players and wanting the best for them, that when we see them either being treated unfairly, in our opinion, or they're just not they're not reaching their potential that everybody knows that they have, then we tend to get passionate about that. I don't necessarily think that's wrong. I think it can be guided for sure, but um, I think I also have a theory about coaches who yell, and I'm guilty of it as well at sometimes. But I mostly yelled during my first few years of coaching, and it was primarily because I think looking back, I thought that yelling gave me a little more credibility. It doesn't. It just makes you look like a jerk. So now I've tried to tone it down a little bit and really focus on the players. I try to have good relationships with the players and the officials and the opposing coaches. Even if I may not take them out afterwards and have a beer with them, I still want to show that mutual respect, because that's what I would want. It's hard, man. When we're passionate about our players, it's hard. It's real hard.
And when you're passionate about your players, you know the game at the level that I kind of know the game, and it's
Mm-hmm.
growing in an area that's new. It's like you're
Yeah.
saying, it's hard.
It's
I'm not a coach that yells to get through the kids, honestly, or when we're coaching. It's more or less, well, we're in game situations, I'll say.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this has been really good. I've got two final questions, and we
Yeah,
can wrap this up. But the first one is, if you could go back in time and tell your first year self, either first year player, first year coach, first year college player, something, anything, what would it be?
you're not going to be a professional lacrosse player.
Okay, and why? Why would you tell yourself that? Did you think that you were going
Um,
to be?
I thought so for like a long time, but I also think it's like that kid thing where like you love this game. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
watching the thing with Josh Allen last night where he did this interview, and he grew up in the middle of nowhere, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he had a dream of being an NFL quarterback. That's what he wanted to do, and realistically where he grew up probably gave him very, very, very little of a shot. And he saw that, he lived it. He had to go through a very uncommon path to try and even get a scholarship to play college football. And I think that growing up where I grew up, and lacrosse was such a huge aspect of my life, and I saw guys go and play professional lacrosse and all that, and didn't understand. They're not making a ton of money and they're not living off of it. It's a passion thing, and it's a love for the game is why we all get to do this. It's not a monetary thing. Realizing that and looking back, like I love what I get to do every day. Don't get me wrong. Like getting to coach lacrosse is amazing. Didn't think I'd be ever doing it, coaching lacrosse in Louisiana or the Gulf Coast by any means when I was growing up. But I think that a lot of kids need to realize that when you get to a certain level and you get to a point where those numbers shrink so drastically, right? The amount of guys that play professional sports just in general are very slim. And even looking at the PLL right now with how many guys are in the league, there's tons of amazing lacrosse players that don't even get thought about playing professional lacrosse. So use that tool, use your lacrosse ability to get into a school or figure out a field that you want to succeed in, you want to figure something out in, you want to take those next steps professionally in, and have both of those be an aspect of your life instead of kind of being that one lane and only thinking that way, is what I'll say, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah.
And I know you probably weren't thinking that was going to be the answer.
No, listen, that's an open question. And I'm really glad you answered it that way, because a lot of us as the adults in these players' lives will tell them that you can, like you say, you can use your skills that you've learned from lacrosse to help you. But one thing they don't realize is most of those PLL players, most of those MLL players, they have full-time jobs outside of lacrosse. They have to. It's just the money isn't there. They have a lot of fun doing what they do. They're passionate about their lacrosse careers. And they also understand that it's, unfortunately, it's not a means to an end right now. So using those skills you learn on the field, off the field, the teamwork, the leadership, the fitness aspect of it, setting goals, achieving goals, falling short, picking yourself back up. All those things can help you.
All life lessons.
All life lessons. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, this has been a lot of fun. We're going to do this again. What's that?
This flew by. Let's definitely do another one.
I told you it would. I told you. Okay, last thing. Who else in your area, or who else do you know that we need to talk to right here on this podcast?
In our area.
It doesn't have to be in our area. Who else should we talk to? Like, knowing what we kind of look for and the kind of guys we talk to. Yeah.
What does he do? You guys. He is a Team Israel teammate. Dartmouth grad, played at Dartmouth. And has some a mentorship program for young athletes as well. That I think he'd be a really good guest for you to get, and I can link you guys together.
Let's.
Like.
Yeah, that would be great if we can stay on once we end this, and I'll see if we can grab that info from you, Zach. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really glad that you were able to join the podcast. I hope everybody gets a lot out of it. For everybody else, thank you for being here. As always, you can find us on Instagram, social media, Facebook, any of those at First City Lacrosse. That's a 1STCITYLAX. And you can also contact me, JON at First City Lax. Zach, how can they reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
My Instagram is Zach Pall, ZACHPALL. Our Louisiana Lacrosse Academy Instagram is Louisiana LLA _ lacrosse on Instagram. Our website is LouisianaLacrosseAcademy.com, and all of those will kind of lead you back to me if anyone wants to get in contact.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to link all those in the show notes here. I appreciate you being here. Everybody else, be a good human, get your reps in. We'll see you next time.
If you like what you hear, drop us a like and follow wherever you downloaded this podcast from, and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at First City Lax. Check back every week for more content. Thank you for being a part of the First City Lacrosse podcast.